Hey everybody. So today we have a bit of a different video. You might have read from the title. We're going to be talking about a product that is not leather. For almost 15 years I've been making leather wallets, me and Kaylina, who's behind the camera. This is actually the first wallet that I made, and we make leather wallets all by hand sewn, hand cut, hand sewn. These days we do some die cutting, that sort of thing, but nothing machine sewn or anything. But the interesting thing is that our best-selling product to date isn't leather, it isn't a wallet at all. And so this video is the story of that product. And so I graduated college and made wallets successfully for 3 years. It was really fun. Until 2012, I was living in an older apartment in Boston, and like, what is his name? Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, the way he says, if you're a one-man business or the business depends on you, if something happens to you, then the business goes down. Well, something happened to me and the business went down. We had kind of a slumlord, and the window of the back door was replaced with framing glass, like you would frame a picture. And there was no social media back then really, so I don't have a lot of video or anything, but I'll put some pictures in here. It's not super fancy, but we'll get through it. And I put my hand through the back door and put a piece of glass straight through the part in between your thumb and your front finger and cut a tendon. And so I was in an air cast for a few weeks. I wasn't going to be able to make wallets. You can kind of still see the scar. It's right there. A piece of glass just went straight in and about 1.5 inches deep right into my hand. So that rendered me pretty useless making wallets. I couldn't make anything because I was in a cast. And because it was a tendon, even if I wasn't in a cast, I didn't have the dexterity in my right hand to hold tools and make things. So I had to come up with something else. Now, luckily, I had some savings. We were living very cheaply. I've never been a big spender. Because I knew that if something like this happened, I'd have to get by. I didn't have another job. So, and this is God's honest truth, I sat down on the couch that first day and I made this drawing with my left hand because my right hand was in a cast and I was instructed not to use it at all, or the doctor would do very mean things to me. And this is the Bottlehook. And this is the product that would go on to sell. We've sold 35,000 units at a retail cost of $36.50. Over $1 million. I think it's about 1.3 million at this point in retail sales. Now, of course, we don't make that much. It's a lot of distribution and wholesale, but this is the first drawing, why we have it framed, of that product. Now, how did I come up with this? I'll have to take you back a little bit. So while I was in college, I would ride my bike all the time because I lived in the city and we didn't have cars. And so we would use carabiners to attach our keys to our belt loops. And then when you would get somewhere, you would pull your carabiner off, lock your bike, put your carabiner back on. The problem with carabiners is that they have springs in them. And if you use the cheap carabiners that they give out at the bar, instead of a high quality carabiner that is actually used to support weight while you're climbing, those springs just break and your keys just decide to hit the eject button somewhere in the city in traffic and you lose your keys. So after that happened twice and I had to pay to get things rekeyed twice, I switched to a Japanese fishhook style keychain. I'm going to put pictures of all this stuff. Like I said, I don't have any here, and I'm not very good with editing, so I wish I could make it more fancy, but this is what we're going with. These hooks were very popular at the time, and what they did was they slid onto your belt loop, but they didn't have a clip. So you could just tuck your keys in your back pocket, everything would be secure. I used one of those for like 4 years. And while I was sitting on the couch, and before that, I had always tried to open bottles with it because, again, I was in college and we opened a lot of bottles. So what I did when I sat down on the couch was I took what I had wanted to make and I just started sketching. But a weird thing happened. Like, I made this one first and I put the heart in there. I don't really understand why I did that. This is the second drawing that I made. And you can kind of see on this drawing, after I made this one, I drew more and more on the paper above it. You can see the pen outline and stuff. But this was my idea for taking the Japanese fishhook design and adding a bottle opener. That was the concept that I had. That was it. There was nothing more than that. I just wanted to make a key hook that looked really nice, that looked classic. It wasn't aluminum. It wasn't shaped like a shark. It wasn't, you could wear it with a nice pair of jeans and a button-down shirt and go to an event and it wouldn't stick out as something that didn't belong there. And so I drew this out. So I had this drawing But the big problem was I didn't know how to make anything out of metal. I didn't know how to cast anything. These are very simple. I found someone that could cut copper and round it and bend it, and that was it. But these needed to be poured into a mold. I needed to have the mold made. I didn't know how to do any of that. So I sent out a tweet because it's all I knew how to do. I followed and was friends with some people from doing live events and on Twitter. And someone tweeted back at me that they had a caster in California that could help me. And so I immediately decided to use the little savings that I had to try and make this idea a reality. I didn't do any market research. This is probably the worst way to do it, but I just kind of wanted to have it made and wanted to use my time in a cast, making something that I could sell that I didn't have to make myself and bringing this idea to light. So I gave that caster a call, and they were more than willing to work with me on small batch cast products. I put up, I think it was like $2,400 for the first 200 pieces, and then an extra $500 for the mold. It was about $3,000, and I remember I had like $5,000 in my bank account total. That's all the money that I had. And a few weeks later, I got these in. And these are some of the first bottle hooks that ever came out of the mold. So this is the bottle hook. And the first thing it does is it's a bottle opener, but I wanted it to be a really good bottle opener because a lot of the times keychain bottle openers are kind of sketchy. They're hard to use. So it's a really good kind of like bar quality bottle opener. So the first way you can open bottles, I know these are twist top, but it's all we got, is like that. And then the second way, you want a Coke?
Sure.
All right, so the second way is you can go like that. So it opens bottles, and then the second use is it hooks onto your belt loop. Now, next part of this story is that I started a Kickstarter campaign. I made a Kickstarter campaign because I only had enough for the samples, and I wanted to have these made. So, I'm doing these facing me, I should do them facing you. So what I did was I started a Kickstarter, and I did a Kickstarter in the worst way possible. It was 14 days long, there were 2 pictures, no video, and like a written description. I'll put it up on the screen here. And my goal was the next batch of 200, or I think it was, yeah, the next batch of 200 was gonna be like $2,500. So I put that as my goal. And what you're seeing is the result of a Kickstarter campaign that ended up doing over $50,000 in sales. It was like 2,400% more than I was looking for. And these were the rewards. So this was the regular edition. I had copper, silver, and bright red because I always wanted, I love cast iron, and when you paint cast iron and it's old and the cast iron, the paint chips away. So I always wanted to do a red powder coat. But then we ended up doing a limited edition. These are shell cordovan tags, and they were green. They're dark now because they're 8 or 9 years old, but they were Kickstarter green, and then we added the black one. And that Kickstarter campaign launched, well, it totally changed my life, basically. $50,000 isn't a lot to start a big business, but for me, doing everything by hand, it was a chunk of change. So I used some of the extra money to make our special editions, add a second color, and of course we needed to order a lot more volume. I say we, it was just me. I hired friends to package up stuff. The other thing that we did was I added a second product in our signature split rings. And these are originals. I haven't been opened since I got them in 2012. But I collect advertising key rings, and there was a couple of companies in, I think, Austria that made them between 1910 and 1930. I wanted to make my own. So you can see Corter leather, handmade in New England. These are cast iron, plated, stamped, and I had the extra money. I was able to design this ring from the ground up and make this as well as the bottle hook. When the Kickstarter was done, I had about 50 of the original batch left, and those are these, not these. And so I couldn't sell them because I didn't have enough to fill Kickstarter orders. So what I did was I had an event scheduled in Baltimore. So we drove down to Baltimore, and I brought those 50 hooks with me, and there was a line like out the door to come buy them. And I think it was a small venue. So when I say line out the door, it was like 7 people. We didn't sell out of them. But what did happen was a buyer for a company called Need Supply drove from Virginia to Baltimore to buy everything that I had left because they wanted to be the first people to carry these. And eventually, let me grab these, we would end up doing a custom color white for Neat Supply. Now this is a sample. You can see the powder coat is all gross. But we would eventually end up doing our V2 in a limited edition for Neat Supply. And that's when I knew that I had something was happening with this thing that was beyond me, because this, to me, I just wanted to make a cool bottle opener that hooked onto your belt. And I wasn't a business person. I was a leathersmith. And so I had to read up and understand what was happening quick. Once our Kickstarter orders were fulfilled, it was kind of off to the races. We ended up getting a lot of press. This is Real Simple magazine in their holiday gift guide. We ended up being put in this right here. And this was insane. I didn't think anything was going to come of it, but we ended up selling, we sold like 1,000, I think 3,500 bottle hooks in this month of December. It was just wild. I had such a hard time keeping up with everything. But we had a lot of capital, and I've never been one to spend any of my capital on like fun stuff, or I didn't buy houses or clothes or anything. What I did was I reinvested it back into the product, and we did cool stuff. So this is one of the coolest things that we did. These are dye sublimated powder coats on the bottle hook. And what happens is you have a bottle hook, and then it's powder coated white, then powder coated clear, then through a dye sublimation process, the clear coat is dyed with the pattern that you want. You can do any sort of pattern. We did stuff like this. We did, let's see, we ended up doing a brass version of the bottle hook. Now these are made in Indiana, and this is a nickel-plated solid brass that we did as a limited edition. This is the standard solid brass that we sold, and this is the fan favorite, the rangefinder. So this is coated with the same black paint that Leica cameras are coated with. So over time, you can kind of see it brasses just like a Leica camera will. We were able to do a lot of cool stuff, but we had some problems. We were getting copied. It was hard I didn't have a lot of business experience. It was hard keeping up the cash flow, knowing what to do, when to do it. But everything wasn't perfect. People were starting to notice the design, and unfortunately, people were starting to copy it. This is a mold that we actually seized because we ended up getting a patent on the bottle hook. And you can see after shrinkage, it's pretty much the same exact thing. What happens is when you have a patent and someone copies your product, you get to seize all of the product that they've made, and you can get the molds to make sure that they can never make it again. So with the guidance of my friend Aaron, he's invented the kapow. He makes chain rings, he makes eyeglasses, all sorts of stuff. We ended up getting a design patent. Now this patent covers the look of the piece. And if you'd like me to do a video on the patent process, I'm happy to do it. We've been through it. So you can see that this covers the look of the bottle hook. We couldn't really get a utility patent covers the function of it. And there are plenty of bottle hooks, there are plenty of keychains out there. But we really just wanted to protect the look. So we ended up getting a patent. And this patent makes defending our intellectual property against people copying us like this a lot easier. So that was a big help. So once the patent came through, we were pretty much free and clear to sell everything and not worry about imitators and copycats and stuff. And we did. The bottle hook was really successful for the next few years. We did a huge deal with Birchbox. We did, that was our #1 selling product, but the whole time I just wasn't super happy with what the bottle hook was. So after like 18 months of redesigning, this is the official launch of the V3 bottle hook. I don't want this to be a sales pitch, so if you want one, they're available, links in the description. I just want to talk about how this product has evolved since the first time we produced them. Well, I want to talk about the differences because I'm really proud of this one. This is an original. This is made out of solid zinc with stainless steel. There's like a rod right here for strength. These two, we got rid of the zinc because it just wasn't strong enough. These two are solid brass. This is copper plated brass. And this one is actually our first version of a solid stainless steel. And so we did, that says first edition, we did a whole different mold just for the stainless steel because all of them now have the material they're made out of cast into the back. I wanted to change up the markings to really denote which type each was, so you could look at it and know exactly what it was. So this one has, you know, it says stainless steel right there, and then it says first edition there because it's the first time we've made stainless steel. The second is that we changed the branding. So let's see. This is an original, and you see it has our logo. It says Corter leather on it. I wanted the Bottlehook to just be the Bottlehook because we're leather workers. I design these, but we don't make them. So now it just says the Bottlehook on it. The next biggest change is that we have the patent number on the back. And this is, it's for protection for sure. But I just always wanted, you know, old cast iron stuff has its patent number. People were proud that they designed something and got a patent on it. And I was too. So I wanted to put the patent number into this mold. And since we got the patent, we hadn't done any changes to the mold that we were using. So this was an opportunity to put that in. And then the last difference is that these are a little bit smaller. So this is a V2 Bottlehook. The V1s were this size, but then we made them bigger because we were having issues with strength because of the zinc. When we went to the solid brass, we were able to shrink them down a little bit to back to the original size. So those are the big changes. And the last change is that we actually switched manufacturers, producers, casters. And I think you guys, if you're leather workers, you might know our friends over at IAS, you might know them as Buckle Guy. They're actually making these for us in their factory. So these are the same quality as all of their solid brass buckles, all of their hardware. And, you know, we use all different companies for our trimmings, but we use plenty of stuff from them, and it's always great quality. The finish on these is insane. Like, I don't want to, I'm not trying to sell it to you. You can look at it. It's nuts. It's silky, silky smooth. The plating is beautiful. The brass is just crystal clear. This stainless steel, so this is a sandblasted stainless. It just looks so cool and it feels awesome. So the goal was to up the quality, and I think that was achieved. The last thing we did was we updated the split rings. We have a second version now, and I've showed these on video before. These are all solid brass, and they're plated to match each colorway, and as we do more colorways, we'll do more split rings to match. And then we decided to move the leather tab from the Bottlehook itself, because it's not branded with Corter, to the leather tabs because the rings are, and each one is going to have a unique unique graphic. Just wanted to have a little more fun with it. So to kind of summarize this experience, I guess, you know, when something like this happens, it's fairly public. You get a lot of questions about like what the process was like and how did you do it? Because people want to design stuff and invent stuff and bring stuff to market. And my best response is, it's kind of, there's a documentary about Bert from Burt's Bees, and he says that, you know, he didn't set out to really do this on purpose. He just kind of created something out of necessity and then just held on for the ride. And I feel very lucky because I didn't set out to do any of this either. In a weird way, the V3 kind of feels like a conclusion to the story, because I don't think we can make these much nicer. We can do different finishes and a lot of fun stuff, but the evolution of the product design itself is kind of, for now, done. This is the nicest we can make it, and it's exactly what I've always wanted it to be. But the big takeaway is that I'm not an inventor, you know what I mean? I design stuff, but this is a product that came out of necessity, and in talking to other people that have had similar things happen, it just seems like a lot of the best stuff comes out of necessity. I wanted this, I needed it, and other people needed it too. It's very simple, it serves a very simple purpose. It's one of those products that, you know, a lot of people look at and say, oh, this is easy, why didn't I think of that? And I look at products like that all the time too, thinking, why didn't I think of that? I just got very fortunate to have one of my own. So I think that if you're looking for advice on that kind of thing, you know, that's the best advice I can give you. So I think that's going to be it for this one. If you want us to talk about any more of the process, let us know in the comments. These are going to be available. Bottle hooks, link in description. Split ring sets, link in the description. If you want to pick one up, we have plenty. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.